Yeah, and the great part about this is you've got these three zoo mafias, and the zoo is too small for three mafias competing over the space. So the concept is one of them has got to go. Hey there, adventurers and critters of dice rolling underworld. A new escapade is brewing. You bet your whiskers you ain't seen nothing like it before. Welcome to the attic world of Zoo Mafia, where the mob bosses ain't humans, but the most cunning critters you ever did see. Roam through a zoo teeming with plots, heists, and of course a heft of danger, as you navigate through the tricky terrains designed by the godfather of the zoo himself, the Zookeeper. Join the ranks of Owl Capone, Carlo Hambino, and Machine Gun Otto, the most notorious mob bosses in the animal kingdom, as they weave through plots and navigate a maze of adventures and perhaps just a bit of mischief. Be the early bird to catch the worm, or in this case, exclusive Kickstarter early bird specials. We're wrapping up a delectable package for those who scamper in the first during our initial 48 hours. Want to be in the know? Dash over to our Kickstarter notification page and sign yourself up to be the first to know when the gates of the zoo fling wide open for backers just like you. Bring your moxie and your pals and dive tail first into a world where the stakes are high, the adventures are boundless. We'll be waiting for you in the dark alleys of Zoo Mafia. I'm Nerdarchist Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchist Dave.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. We're talking about Zoo Mafia and leaving the zoo. This might be some of these viewers' first time hearing about Zoo Mafia, so let's do it short and sweet. What is Zoo Mafia?
All right, Zoo Mafia is a game about going wild, doing crime, but don't let the humans catch you. You're playing a zoo animal during Prohibition with the Secret Life of Pets style game or Zookeeper, where the animals are actually more aware. They speak to each other. They have their own secret lives at nights when the zookeepers go home, and a certain portion of these zoo animals are actually criminals. There are 3 crime families in the zoo. You are playing and part of a gang, a mob that is trying to get made into one of these mafias, which may sometimes cause you to have to leave the zoo in order to get that recognition of the crime bosses.
All right, so what is the significance of the zoo in Zoo Mafia, Dave?
Well, so Zoo Mafia is really about a mob war, right? And you trying to get in on what you believe will be the winning side. Maybe you're the one that turns the tide, right?
Sure.
And creates the winning side, or maybe you create your own side. But the zoo breaks down into these little fiefdoms of crime lords and different crimes, different organizations. In our own games, we've used the 3 main crime bosses, but we've also introduced smaller crime families or organizations into the particular zoo. You want to use the zoo to highlight these different territories, these different crime bosses, how they might be different, but also to contrast the criminal elements of the zoo with the civilian population of the zoo. And it's definitely, things that we've introduced, where this area is a night market and it's just for the regular people. In the zoo, you have speakeasies. Some of them are neutral, but many of them are owned by the different crime bosses. And, it gives you a place to kind of highlight what those criminals are going to be like, what those animals are like, in an environment where it might not automatically break out into gang violence.
Yeah, and the great part about this is you've got these 3 zoo mafias, and the zoo is too small for 3 mafias competing over the space. So the concept is one of them has got to go. So over the course of a campaign, that is kind of like the expected play or the expected outcome of engineering the downfall of one of them. Whether you try to usurp control and bring them in, whether you try to eliminate them, whether you try to get the boss booted out of the zoo, or whatever have you. There's all different kinds of ways to seek a balance, with this kind of style campaign. So the zoo becomes this non-character character, because if all 3 mafias are left intact, it's going to tear the zoo apart. And then the humans are going to know about this secret world that the animals have, and that's no good. That's worse than, the deaths that would wind up happening. All right, so Dave, in Zoo Mafia, why is it so important to then leave the zoo?
Well, in Zoo Mafia, sometimes there's missions that you just can't undertake inside the zoo. In one particular episode that we ran on the channel, matter of fact, you can go check out the different playlists that we have for Zoo Mafia and watch our sessions or the design diaries. But essentially, they had to leave the zoo to find a stool pigeon and bring them back. In this case, I believe it was an inchworm that was able to sneak out of the zoo in an apple that ended up in a teacher's desk. desk, right, in an elementary school. So they had to interact with the pets that were already in the school, which of course had their own crime family in there, of course, and get, bring back that worm in order to deliver it to your crime boss because it had some dirt on that particular crime boss, and they did not want it to be handed over to the Claw Patrol. But I got a question for you, Ted. Why would the characters want to leave the zoo in Zoo Mafia or not leave the zoo in Zoo Mafia?
So this is a really great character development aspect. Sometimes characters might want to leave the zoo in Zoo Mafia because like their life is here, so getting out is a sense of freedom. But you could also have that kind of syndrome where like, now this is where life is, so leaving the zoo opens it up to too many freedoms, to too many things, and those choices could become more than you can deal with. So it's like, nah, man, I don't want to leave. Everything's here. It's comfortable here. I get everything I need. There's no need to go out there.
Also, it just increases your odds of being discovered by humans, right?
Yes, indeed.
Like in the game, there's severe mechanical consequences if you have an interaction with humans that isn't related to being an animal, but being part of a mafia or doing non-animal things. Mechanically, that can cut one of your resources right in half.
Yeah, it's really deadly, really dangerous, to do that and to like willfully make that choice. It's the story has to be massive for that choice to be made, because it can go south real quick for your character. So you got to be careful with that one.
But along those veins, sometimes it's just really important for your characters to leave the zoo. And in the one instance, like the crime family you're trying to get into, like that animal, that worm, had dirt on Carlo Hambino, so you guys had to get out there and get that worm back in before they could cause problems for the crime family you're trying to get into.
There's always something out there that the zoo doesn't have. So a query of resources or information, or to stop, in this case, information from getting out, it's pivotal. But just like any role-playing game, you're always going to need new areas to explore. No matter how big your zoo is, there's always something that isn't in the zoo. So it's something new to go look at, whether you want to go to the convenience store to pick up something, whether you want to go to the pet store to pick up something, whether you're looking to recruit other animals into your cause. There's always another thing that you could wind up, getting, doing, finding that is outside the zoo. And since, these are not just regular animals, they're not powered, but they're human level intelligence, human level interacting with things. There is the blanket of, you guys know how to get out of the zoo if need be, just like you know how to get out of your enclosures. The people think they're smart, but they're not. The animals are smarter than them because they know how to do all of these things when the people don't think they can. So those are just some of the ways that you can kind of benefit from exploring outside of your standard, locales, if you will. And whether you're talking about, Zoo Mafia or any other role-playing game that you're used to having a confined space, like if you're used to running an urban adventure and now all of a sudden you need to get into a straight-up dungeon crawl or, wilderness exploration, it breaks the monotony. So that's the concept, to get out of your safe zone or out of your comfort zone and into something a little bit new, a little bit more risky for this, particular set of characters. If you like this video, as well as all the content we put out on nerdarchy.com, make sure you like, share, subscribe, even attune to that notification bell.
Quick reminder, we drop new videos here on the channel weekly, so come on back, but you can't wait till then. Check the cards up here for your next Nerdarchy video.
So until next time, stay nerdy.